honestly, I just felt like it'd be a little bit dramatic there because it's a nice little bop. Hello, welcome to Last Word on Football, the attempted to be daily show that runs through all the football news everywhere in the world, in addition to your standard Leeds stuff. And I will often tend to just do a video recording at the same time. Sorry, I was in the middle of starting to eat an orange whilst I was getting started, but here we are. As always, thank you, Evie. Much appreciated. As always, make sure that you are having your say in the comments if there's any news stories that you want covering that I haven't gotten to. For some reason, my internet connection has just hit a brick wall, which is really fun. So I'm going to close a bunch of background stuff. Let me know how it's coming across, by the way, because if it is fine, then we're all good. But if it's not fine, shout at me. But either way, I'm going to roll into it with the first bit of news today. Remember, comment in the chat if there's anything that you want me to talk about. Chat's that way, isn't it? Yeah. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, and I will delve right into it immediately. Thank you for letting me know, Evie. That is much appreciated. So, first up, there were some weird issues with the Brazil match yesterday. Now, Brazil isn't known for having the best of policing. There was an entire Fast and Furious film about it. And it seems to have spiked its ugly head up yet again in the match against Argentina. Brazil played against Argentina yesterday, and there were reports of the police repeatedly beating Argentina fans because for some reason the ground had agreed to combine Argentina fans in the same area as the Brazil fans. Now, I can see the problem there. I can see the fact that there's two different South American sides, which is an area that is renowned for its passion when it comes to football, being forced into one place and told to behave with each other. And in addition to that, the on-pitch antics didn't help because there was a red card after Rodrigo de Paul, who I don't know if we like or not anymore as Leeds United fans. But when Rodrigo de Paul dramatically dived because someone gently tapped him in the face and got Rafinha a yellow card later on for exactly the same reason, you can tell that there is a good reason that Brazil fans were getting angrier and angrier and angrier, especially after Argentina scored. And the worst bit is, it's not even the first time that this happened. The same thing happened in the Copa Libertadores final last year, where there was an Argentine team taking part, the crowd got confused with each other, they got mixed in, and the police started getting violent. Now, there are reports of some incredibly serious injuries from this incident, which are very, very bad considering the fact that there is clear form for this, and it comes very shortly after the death of a young concert goer at a Taylor Swift concert. That was slightly different. That was an issue with people in positions of authority not like handing out water on one of the hottest days of the year. But again, it's an issue of authorities in Brazil not properly paying attention to the needs of a crowd, how to look after the people that they are in charge of, and ultimately people's lives being the cost. There is a very, very serious issue of policing, and although it's not the most fun way to start a live stream, it's something that I felt needed discussing. It vastly needs reform, and as someone in the UK, that's not something that I will be able to properly delve into, and I don't have the knowledge that people from Brazil do. But I feel like it's important to discuss just so everyone is sort of aware of what's going on around the world. I did say this is a thing for around the world of football, and here we are. In addition to that, we have news from the Premier League yesterday. This is, I'd say, slightly lighter, but it does still involve human rights breaching countries. There will be no ban on signing players from linked football clubs. This specifically was potentially being brought up in relation to the Newcastle United Saudi Arabia stuff. Newcastle United are owned by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. So they're owned by something owned by Saudi Arabia, but that means they're not owned by Saudi Arabia, obviously. And there were rumours that because Sandro Tonali is out of action for, I think, 8 months, that they would simply do something a little bit different and they would get Ruben Neves on loan or something from Al Hilal, because Saudi Arabia has a league that is buying every single good footballer that is either desperate for a big payday or slightly past it. In the case of Kalidou Koulibaly, Edouard Mendy was on the downturn, the biggest example being Cristiano Ronaldo. 7 teams voted against this rule change, and for me, I want to know what you think is the most annoying of clubs to have voted against this rule change, because some of them I understand. Newcastle voted against it, completely understandable. They are the ones that would have benefited from the loans. Chelsea voted against it. Completely understandable. Todd Boehly owns another football club and owns them under the same umbrella holding company, I think. Manchester City, City Football Group, that makes sense. Nottingham Forest, their owner owns multiple clubs, I guess. Wolves, this is where we're getting a little bit complex, but the one that annoys me most, there's also Burnley. I have no idea why Burnley did it. I think they might have links to another club. I'm not 100% sure. But the one that annoys me the most is Sheffield United. It's important to note that Sheffield United are owned by someone in Saudi Arabia. It'd be funny if it wasn't a little bit embarrassing for the Premier League, because that's just a voting block now. They only need 5 clubs that aren't Newcastle United, Sheffield United to vote, and then they can just get something. And if you add City and Chelsea to the list, multi-club models are the way forward right now, because there isn't a way of dealing with it. Just had a quick comment that is very, very important to talk about. What are your opinions on Prem clubs being able to vote on that instead of it being an FA rule brought in? I feel like it is in the same ilk as transfer rules in general. Transfer rules in general, I don't think, come under the Football Association. Transfer rules in general come under the EFL, or they come under the Premier League. That's why the EFL, you can sign someone on loan from somewhere else in the EFL in terms of division in these restricted transfer windows, which is something that clubs can take advantage of for loan transfers, for if your goalkeeper is injured, for anything like that. So I think it's a matter of it isn't within the FA's remit rather than the Premier League. And the Premier League is the one that initially dealt with Newcastle United being bought out by Saudi Arabia. It's something that the Premier League had been dealing with for a while. So I completely understand why it's a Premier League issue. And any rule changes within the Premier League, because it's about Premier League registrations, need to be voted on by a supermajority of Premier League clubs. Needs to be 14 clubs behind it. This time there was only 13, and that's why we ended up in this situation. Very annoying situation, because it feels like Saudi Arabia can effectively just cheat. But there is a bright side to it, and that is the fact that Ruben Neves is reportedly not looking to move anyway. That's a very big, very, very big benefit. Admittedly, you've still got the likes of Gabri Vega, who could, in theory, improve Newcastle, who plays for a Saudi-owned club at the moment. But the fact that Ruben Neves, the one being discussed, isn't considering the move is very helpful. There is still the downside of the fact that it could happen if he changes his mind, but at least there's some mitigating factor there. The player still needs to care enough to go to Newcastle. And I think Neves said that he wasn't interested in coming back to the Premier League. And I feel like the weather in Newcastle wouldn't necessarily suit Ruben Neves either. Outside of this quite depressing football news, one last bit before I get to the live video recording that I'm planning on doing. Germany are looking very funny at the moment. This is more of a light-hearted story. And if you are German in the chat, my deepest apologies to you. You're a laughingstock. So, aside from the biggest issue that I've noted recently, which is the fact that they're stuck playing Kai Havertz as a left-back rather than a central midfielder or a striker or anything like that, they've won 2 matches in their last 10. This is after, for the first time in their history, they had to sack a manager, because every other manager had just resigned. The last one, sacked, straight up. Julian Nagelsmann came in, and they haven't fixed it. Things have just gotten worse and worse and worse, and it's not like they're low on talent. They've got so many good footballers, but it's just not paying off. In theory, they could put Raum at left back, but for some reason there's Havertz there. Don't hugely understand. Can't say I particularly want to either. I do not watch that much German football. Aside from all of these failings, I find it incredibly amusing that they're hosting the Euros in 7 months' time. 7 months. And they've won in the last 7 months twice, which is a little bit embarrassing. I feel like they are set up for either the biggest comeback story of all time or potentially the funniest embarrassment at a home tournament ever. At least no one expected anything of Qatar when they hosted the World Cup. However, when it comes to Germany, you just sort of assume Germany will be okay. They're a historic football country. They'll be fine. Absolutely not. They're in deep, deep trouble. and really need to work out what to do here. That is most of the news that I was able to find from around the world of football recently, because it's just been a day since the last one. There's no club football going on. I'll be honest, I was scrambling a little bit, so I'm going to add to the time that I'm going to take by doing live video recording. Oh, yes. That means I'm going to have to very quickly change the thumbnail that I have completely forgotten to prepare in advance. I'm going to have to change the title, and I will delve right into it as soon as possible after I have done that. So, let's delete that, delete that, delete that. This is the bit where I'm going to have to design a thumbnail on stream, which is going to be a little bit complex. In fact, I will give you a little bit of a sneaky peek behind the curtain for this, because I think it could be quite interesting if you haven't seen it before. So hide the bookmarks bar, because there's a lot of work stuff on there. Share the screen. That window. Bosh. Right, I believe you can see that. Fan-dabby-dozy. So, I'm going to have to change that. That isn't the correct one, which I'm going to have to change in my other browser, because otherwise we've got problems. Farke's Rotherham presser. Shrink that down. Brilliant. Oh, let me know if you're like interested in the behind-the-scenes bits and bobs that I like to do, by the way, because I always find it quite interesting whether you guys like the weird stuff. Like, I acknowledge that this is something that a lot of like streamers will not show you, so I've just thought I might change things up a little bit. I'm also going to change to the Leeds brand, because that's what this next section is. Right, change that to yellow. That's the wrong yellow. Canva, why you got to be like this? Why you got to do me like this? This is on the list of things that I normally prepare in advance, but didn't quite have time to today. Because it turns out I'm trying to learn an entirely new sport in no time at all soon, which is terrifying. I haven't seen anything about not NBA, NFL ever. And I have a work event for it tomorrow, so that's fun. Right, let's mess with the temperature, turn the brightness up. That'll do it. Turn the white line blue. Share, download, transparent background, and bosh. Get rid of you. Last word on, bosh. Pop that there. This is the bit where it gets really difficult, because it'll try and put him in the frame. So, big bits of news were the Jorginho Rutter stuff, absolutely huge. His injury is a problem. There's a conversation to be had around Pascal Struijk, who could be coming back. And who else is worthy of conversation from the press conference? I think Archie. There can be a good bit of chat about Archie. Or Jed Spence. Yeah, I'm team Jed Spence on this one, I think. So if I lock that, drag Jed out, that's not gone well. Lock that, drag out Jed, make him the right size. Now unlock, put him there. Bosh. Easy. For some reason, I can't grab the thing that I quite need to grab. Can I? Oh, because I've locked it. Oh, and I've unlocked that. Right, hold on. Where on earth? Right, there we go. Change the position of view, not to... Right. I'm sure there are other people that, like... I know that Joe has someone that helps him with his thumbnails, and honestly, I'm starting to feel like that'd be a good idea. Right, let's shrink it down to the right size. Bosh. Where is the middle? Why isn't it showing me the middle? That's roughly central. Yeah, cool. So, we'll have an injured thing there. Fantastic. Then use the same font by ungrouping. Delete you and return shall go under Spence in green. That green doesn't seem vibrant enough to me, you know. What are you making, Joe? A collage? I'm making a thumbnail because I figured not enough YouTubers sort of show their processes. And if I'm going to do a live making of a video, I might as well do it start to finish. So, injured, return, and I believe stroke was a late call. Shit. That is just about the wrong size, isn't it? So I'll ungroup. I will get rid of my lovely medical sign. I'll turn late call yellow because that is a sort of spooky dooky colour. That's not like a yellowy yellow, is it? That'll do. Late call, injured, return, fantastic. Share, download at full quality. Bosh. Fantastic. And I will stop sharing that screen then, because now I need to delve into the YouTube studio, which is a place of lots and lots of data that I'm not actually allowed to show you. I'm 99% sure that YouTube rules basically say you can't show people this. You're not allowed, because then that would reveal their revenue streams and all that sort of stuff. So dip into content, live, editor, Georgie Rotter will be part of the changed thumbnail. Right, the moment I stop recording this video, I need you guys to shout at me. Quite badly need you to shout at me as a reminder that I have, in fact, changed the title and will need to change the title back. So if the moment I stop recording this, you could shout title, be very happy. Thank you. So I'll pop that there. Rutter out. Big Leeds United update for Rotherham clash. That'll do. That's a nice clickbaity title, I think, and I will be using that for the video itself as well. Save that, and that will come across immediately, and then we will get to it. So, quick reminder, if anyone has anything that they want to ask when I am going through this video, just let me know, because this is the reason that I do these live recordings. I can respond to what you guys want to know, what you guys want to hear, all that sort of stuff. So, what we do, as I mentioned yesterday, we dive in to the first banner. We go put the microphone directly in front of us, so we've definitely got the sound right. I don't know if that makes like a crackly noise when I'm moving it. I'm not too sure. We do the audio test just to make sure that it is as up to date as can be. So words, test, words, test, words, test, words. And we dive into it. Today, Daniel Farke had his press conference for the match against Rotherham, and there has been some absolutely colossal news, both good and bad. Now, for context, for the people watching afterwards, I'm recording this live. You might see some comments popping up. If you want, just pop into my live streams, and odds are I will be recording one of these videos. So, we're going to dive into it. The Daniel Farke press conference, and we started off with a lot of very interesting team news. And I'm going to start with the good. Joe Gelhardt and Jamie Shackleton have returned to team training. That isn't the main bit of positive news, but it's something that I found very notable. It's something that you can look at and say, fantastic, very, very good to have that update, almost entirely because they're good squad players. Getting into December, you need that squad depth. I've mentioned it on video after video after video, but if you do not have enough depth in your squad, Shackleton can play all over the pitch. Gelhardt, we've seen, can get us out of a pinch if he's on a good day. Having those players available in the event of injuries, which we might have to get onto later on, is absolutely key. In addition to that, we've got a few more players back in training. Sam Byram and Pascal Struijk have recovered significantly faster than was initially expected by Daniel Farke, and that is huge. Sam Byram had a pulled hamstring. Pascal Struijk had an operation on a hernia, and the fact that they're both dealt with means that they're not going to be long-term injuries. We're going to have them back throughout December, and assuming that the light training is okay enough to not worsen the injuries, we can see them back in the first team. Maybe not this weekend, but afterwards. Going forwards, we could see significant improvements in their fitness. It's a faster recovery than expected. Daniel Farke put it down to the medical staff at the ground being so good, and we're looking fine. That's basically it. However, there is one bit of positive news that people were definitely waiting for. It'll be directly from the thumbnail, and if you've clicked on this video, it might be for this. Jed Spence's available. Now, Jed Spence, we've only seen about 10 minutes of him so far this season, but his presence in the side will be absolutely colossal. He's one of our better technical players, I believe. And the fact that he's available and he's young and he's got the legs under him that we desperately need in that squad, because Luke Ayling doesn't have them under him anymore, means that we have someone that can bomb on and drop back doing both of the jobs at the same time. We no longer need someone like an Archie Gray dropping into that sort of faux right wing back position when they're meant to be a midfielder, just to make sure that we can defend enough. He's been training since last weekend, and that is a very, very positive sign that going forwards, he will be fit enough to play. That's enough training, I believe, maybe not to start this match. I think it comes down to Sam Byram, to be completely honest with you. Maybe not to start this match, but to go forwards and see how we do. There is, however, a colossal problem, and this is the other bit of news that you might have spotted in the thumbnail. Jorginho Rutter is a very, very serious doubt. He got something like an abdominal knock or something like that, I think Daniel Farke said, and he will be a late decision. And that is sort of why I was referring to Joe Gelhardt as someone that might be needed, because he's someone else that can play that 9-10 combo role. And as much as Kevin in the chat believes that Gelhardt isn't good enough at Championship level, I sort of agree with you. He's not good enough to start at Championship level. He's not a first-team player, but I believe against sides like Rotherham, there is no issue with having him as squad depth, as someone that you can either bring on late into a match or start when you're missing someone like Jorginho Rutter, because the talent around him will bring out the best in Joe Gelhardt. Gelhardt was quite good for Sunderland in the Championship last season, and it comes down to getting that consistency from him, getting a side that trusts him, and yeah, whilst the Rutter doubt will be a late decision, and I desperately hope that he's able to at least make it into the squad, so we know we're going to have him around for Swansea and beyond. We'll find out. Last bit of team news from Daniel Farke was that he was very happy with Archie Gray's management of minutes in the England system. Archie Gray is someone that we desperately need to keep an eye on, because he's still just 17 years old. He might be one of our best players. He might be one of our more creative players, and he's a very, very sturdy midfield presence whilst being able to play at right back. But the moment an injury happens, that could get worse. He got injured last season stubbing his toe and missed a significant chunk of the season because of it. It's not good. The fact that we're managing minutes, and it's not just us managing minutes, the fact that Spencer's back means that he won't need to fill in at right back, and Kamara is on form means that we can sort of decide when we want to play him. We don't have to play him every single match. That full squad depth, as I've mentioned, is fundamental to Championship success. Daniel Farke didn't just talk about Leeds United, though. He also discussed Rotherham. And he said that going into the match, there's been a lot of, I think he called it theoretical prep work. Stuff that is talking about how Rotherham play and not being able to discuss it on a training pitch, rather discussing it over meetings and through videos and telling players what they'll need to do through that format. That's not the best. That's something that scares me a little bit, because it's not something that any manager wants to do. They want to practically drill into players what need to happen. However, that's because some players will not be able to train before the match. Big problem, I think. Having those players is going to be obscenely important. Willy Gnonto, especially if Jorginho Rutter is missing and we need to swing Somerville into the central attacking midfielder position, or Gnonto into there, or even if it's someone to come off the bench, Gnonto is a very talented footballer and we need him in the squad. The same applies for the Wales gang, as I've put it, because Ampadu is, I think, our most pivotal footballer on the football pitch at any given time because he just breaks up opposing attacks. Joe Rodon at centre-back has been a rock next to Pascal Struijk. If we're missing both of them at the same time, serious issues. Then we've got Dan James, one of the form wingers in the Championship at the moment. Having them all available is key. Having them training is also important, but I feel like we don't want to risk an injury with them at any point. Farke also mentioned that he wants to set the tone against Rotherham, start out very, very well, get on the front foot, attack them make the decisions, and in that case, you're able to force them to make mistakes. We saw it a lot against Plymouth. Their goalkeeper could not deal with the press. Their back line could not deal with the press. And although the international break sort of might screw the press because we're missing key players, we can also bring in Bamford, who's a very good presser of the ball. Setting the tone early against Rotherham will be absolutely key, and that means matching and exceeding their level of intensity. Farke mentioned that they will be fighting with a knife between their teeth because every single point for a team like Rotherham matters as much as it does for us. Because they're desperately trying to not go down this season because Rotherham are that sort of main pivotal bouncing between club that is not consistently League One, is not consistently Championship. Barnsley have had a big knock recently in that they were knocked out of the FA Cup because of registration issues. A club like that, getting a knock like that means that they're going to miss out on some like FA Cup prize money and potentially suffer for it later in the season. That's how important those margins are for clubs that bounce between the leagues. We need to be aware of their set pieces because they're a massive threat. They're a lower level Championship club. Obviously, they're going to use set pieces. It's what happens. Set pieces to them are as important as liking and subscribing to this video for me. Much appreciated if you could do that. That felt cheesy. And in addition to that, we need to focus on very highly transitional football so they can't get that low block. Even if it means inviting them into an attack from time to time, or pressing obscenely high so we win the ball from them as often as possible. If we allow them to have a low block, we give ourselves more of a challenge to break through. That's where we get problems. And that's where Leeds sides for a long time have had problems. We had other news that wasn't specifically about Rotherham as well that I'm going to dive into. Daniel Farke said that he won't specifically comment on the Everton situation. Very, very wise, I think, considering he wasn't the manager at the time at Leeds United. He wasn't hugely attached to the situation whilst we were in the Premier League. It just keeps him clear from any arguments, I guess. He said that we have no interest in applying pressure on Ipswich. We're just paying attention to ourselves. He mentioned a very specific number. He said that you'll probably need 26 wins to go up in any given Championship season. Clever, basically. The fact that we've set this distinct target and we've said 20 wins for the playoffs means that we know what we need to do. And constantly knowing what you have to do in football is half the battle. Because you can set yourself these key goals, and Rotherham, with that 26 win target, is a must win. In addition, he discussed about taking care with youth development. He mentioned how players like Archie Gray that are so far ahead of the curve need to play, but you also need to balance minutes constantly. The likes of a Charlie Crew in the under-21s or under-18s will not necessarily benefit from senior football because that's not where they're at right now. And overexposing these players is as dangerous as not giving them any minutes at all. In addition, he was very, very unhappy with the Friday fixture. We've had players play on Tuesday. We are playing on Friday. It's not good. Basically, it means that we will be significantly armed by not having players training, by having players that are more tired than Rotherham's players, because they do not have many international duty footballers. Whether that's youth or senior, they've got neither. Problem for them. But ultimately, I want to know, rather than what Daniel Farke thinks, what you think. What do you think that the first team lineup will be? I'll do a video on that tomorrow. What do you think will happen against Rotherham? And ultimately, going forwards, what do you think is the future for Leeds United? Will 26 wins be enough? I think that is a very big question, and I want to know what you think. Join me later as well, because I've got a stream coming on Football Manager. I think I'm going to aim for something like 3:30, 4 o'clock-ish. We'll find out. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you later. And that, I believe, my dearest stream will be enough for that. Pop back to the last word on football screen. It's going to be a fairly short remainder of the stream, I believe, because I have the Football Manager one to do in half an hour. I need to take a bit of a break between that. I still haven't eaten my orange. I'll get to it. But yeah, I will immediately fix the details on the live stream before I call it. If anyone has any more stories that they want to talk about, though, just spam them in the comments now and we will get to them before I dip out, because I want to know what you guys think. In terms of news stories, I know that I can't cover absolutely every single one, which is why I need you guys, to be completely honest with you. Let's adjust the details. Oh, which was the right thumbnail? It was that one. We're good. Okay. Then get the title back to the one that it should be. Drama Home and Abroad, live press video, etc., etc. Save the changes. So that means that any little VOD frogs that are interested in watching on demand will be able to see it properly, which is fine and dandy by me. If no one has anything to have a bit of a natter about, I'm going to call that there. Oh, 1 second. Question for you. What do you think about the new investment coming into the squad? I think it is going to be absolutely key to moving forwards. And it's not just because it's more investment, it's because it's more investors. Because the more people that are coming into the afternoon, Jess, you've timed that quite badly because I'm answering my last question before I move on. But pop back for the Football Manager stream later and I'll still be answering questions and stuff like that. In terms of the new investment stuff, I think it's good to have as many investors as possible, as well as much money as possible, because that means you've got more people putting pressure on the 49ers to get the results, to get the people that we need in the transfer market. It's not just a matter of how much money do you have, it's a matter of how motivated are your owners to get those results with that money. And yeah, I think having more investors is better. I don't necessarily know if it was more investment in terms of pure cash. If it was, then that's also fantastic. But it's a start. Either way, I am going to leave the stream there for now. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, to be honest. 3-1 Leeds. I think I agree with the 3-1 Leeds. 3-1 Leeds should be very, very good. I'm going to do a full match preview and predictions thing tomorrow, I think. Which will be... I don't know whether I'll stream that or if I'll just video that. We'll find out. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Like the stream if you haven't already. That is hugely appreciated. It helps it get pushed out to the video on demand people. In addition to that, yeah, comment below what you think will happen in the match. I very, very rarely know how to wrap up streams. I always feel a bit awkward. Either way, hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time, which is in 27 minutes. Be there.